We're doing a video tutorial to complement this Medium article that I published a few days ago. If you go through this article, you will see that we are creating a financial agent to actually analyze stock data utilizing the OpenServ SDK and the OpenServ platform. So this is just going to demo you how you can use external tools to do agent and multi-agent orchestration. As a prerequisite, you need to have a few things beforehand. You need to create an OpenServ account on this web address. Since we're going to be using stock data or historical stock data, we will rely on a MarketStack API. So this is the address. You can go and register for free. And to register, you will obtain an API key. The third one is not a necessary prerequisite, but I've just chosen to integrate my Azure OpenAI service. I have an account, and if you don't have one, you can use your OpenAI API key, or you can just rely on the OpenServ platform LLM models itself, so no problem. You need to have Node.js installed locally. Since the code is in TypeScript, we need to compile. And lastly, you need to have ngrok to be able to expose your agent that you run locally to the platform. So these are the prerequisites, and without further ado, let's actually go to the code itself. So once you actually clone the repo that I gave the URL, I published it on my GitHub, you will obtain the source code. There are two important source files under the src directory. The first one is the financial API.ts. So this is the file where our MarketStack APIs, actually the functions are being called, and also that's where we actually make the call to with the functions in this file to external services. So we are importing Axios library. This is for making the HTTP requests such as post or get. We are using .env to be able to load environment variables from the .env file. Actually, if you go to this me.example, you will see a bunch of variables. Let's go through these. This OpenServ API key is where you get it from once you register yourself to the OpenServ platform, and the OpenAI API key is something that you can put here. The space, URL, and access key is the MarketStack related endpoints and your API key. And the last four variables here are the Azure OpenAI variables. Once you actually deploy your OpenAI model on Azure, you will obtain these details such as the endpoint, deployment name. For example, I'm using GPT-4o model as actually interpreter of financial data to get the insights, etc. Okay, so let's go back to financial API.ts. We have a bunch of functions. For example, this create financial prompt from data is where you actually the prompt to be sent to the LLM model, GPT-4o. As you can see here, once we actually obtain the data, the stock data such as date, open, close, high, low, and volume values, we are appending it to the end of the prompt. Feel free to change this according to your needs. Generate insight with OpenAI is where we actually make the call to the OpenAI model through a post command. As you can see here, this is our endpoint, and this is what makes our call to the external LLM model. There are two important parameters for those of you who are familiar with LLM models. If the temperature is a little high, your LLM becomes a little more creative, but there is a risk of hallucination. So feel free to tweak these values according to your needs. The higher the temperature, the better chance that your LLM model might be hallucinating. So things like that doesn't make sense in terms of the data or your, the actual data, you can tweak around these models. Okay, company name to symbol map is a variable where I have put the company names, the full company name and its ticker symbol. It's really hard to sometimes remember these ticker names because our API call to the MarketStack is using the ticker values to grab the data, the historical data, but this is just a lookup table where your agent will actually get the company name from you and then convert it to the ticker names to make the call to the external data source. And in here, you can see that we are sending a get command to the market stack web service to be able to get the actual stock values. Get historical values by name is what actually converts the company name to the ticker symbol. Analyze trend is actually a logic where it generates what we call the trend, 3 trends. There are buy, sell, or neutral. So this is just a simple logic coded in here in this code. If the data actually is going up, you just catch 2 data points and then you look at the last point and the previous one. If it's going up, it says buy, sell, or neutral. Feel free to change this according to your needs. So this is just a programmatic logic that I just put here. But the real deal is actually where you get this insight from the LLM model. So sometimes the trend might not make sense because I just created this logic. You can do your own logic if you want. But at the end, once we actually call the Azure LLM model and get insight, it will return us the LLM interpreted insight. So I think it is more sophisticated than this simple logic, just full disclosure. All right, so if you look at here, index.ts is our main file. We are importing the agent class from the OpenServ SDK. We are using Zod library to make our data validations based on the schema that we create. And these 3 functions is where we went over in our previous file. So this new agent is what initializes the agent. So you're just saying the system prompt and you're giving the API key. This is the OpenServ API key here. And after you initialize your agent, you need to add the capabilities. You can add it actually one by one, or you can edit multiple capabilities at the same time. So just if you want more information, go to the OpenServ SDK documentation. You will see the full detail of explanations about these capabilities. So we are adding just one capability here, which is the name, analyze financial data, a description, and this schema is where we need to create some validation. So if you look at here, when the user puts the company name, we are expecting it should be a string, and the from and to date actually has to be year, month, and date format. So just make sure you enter things like that. And the run command is where the real magic happens. Once we actually start our local agent server, this is the command that it will go through. And if you look at here, it will return to the OpenServ platform 2 things. The first one is the trend. This is the buy, sell, or neutral, the simple logic decision. The second one is the insight. This is where we actually get it from the Azure OpenAI LLM model. So our financial agent is orchestrating all of these and actually share it with the OpenServ platform with the rest of the multi-agents that the platform actually offers to you, which I will demo next. npm run build is what builds the code, and after you actually run this command, you compile it. And before you start your agent, you need to make sure your ngrok is actually running. So we need to establish a tunnel between our local code and the OpenServ platform. So now we are open with this port, and actually let's start our agents. All right, so now our local agent server has started. Now we're gonna go to the OpenServ platform to create the project. This is the OpenServ platform, and if you actually go to the agents menu, you can add your agent, like these and replace it, like give it a name, like your ngrok endpoint and the capabilities. I've already created an agent called Financial Analyst, so I will just show you quickly. It includes the capabilities, and if you want your agent, let's say, have an extra capability like sending emails, you can add your scope here, and it will prime your agent to be able to send an email at the end. And once you're done with that, you can create a new project. For example, in here, I'll just say, for example, financial financial stock analysis and finding trends and generating advice. Just say, for example, stock advisor here. Okay, and next is where you select your team of agents. This is just the kind of like where the strength of the OpenServ platform comes into play. You can enhance your individual agent with a bunch of other team of agents, and the platform will actually provide you multi-agent collaboration and orchestration. For example, I'll just say in here financial analyst, this custom agent that I picked, and on top of that I'll just say the general assistant, which will help me to create reports and maybe some charts at the end. Okay, and after that I'll start the project. So if you actually look at here, the project manager by default added into the team of agents. It is the agent that orchestrates the rest of the team of agents, and it will first create a plan for you and will ask you whether you approve the plan for the multi-agent collaboration, and I'll just say okay, approve the plan. And after that, you'll see the financial analyst will actually come into play, and it will ask me to actually enter the company name and the date range for that. Just for example, big media corp, and I'll gather the data between 24th and 28th of March. Submit it. So once we submit, the financial analyst is actually utilizing our code that we just seen, and there we go. The stock data pulled in the platform, and if you look at here, actually in this and grab the platform access to our local agent to a cost command and analyze financial data capability is invoked. Yeah. If you follow the rest of the workflow, now the general assistant is actually performing data analysis on the stock data. Essentially what it is doing, it's creating a bunch of plots. So if we actually look at here, this is the trend of the data. Nvidia is not doing pretty well between these ranges, so the logic is to sell if you have some stock, right? And if we go to just wait a little bit. Meanwhile, I'm going to show you that for example, if you want to directly communicate with the agent, you can actually use this interface. For example, you can ask the general assistant to do extra, let's say, plots or generate the plot DFs, etc., etc. So that's also possible. Now the financial analyst actually kicked in again. It is on the stage. It is generating the advice based on the analysis the data has brought into itself. Looking at the data that we've just seen here, it should actually recommend you to sell your stock because it's not going very well. And this is the raw data. It will be converted into a PDF, but the general assistant is going to wait until the end of the PDF creation, and once it's done, the workflow will finish, and we'll see that whatever the advice our agent is giving us, and hopefully it will be actually advising to sell my stock because it's not going very well. I'll just show it here. This raw advice generated by the agent. It is a recommendation of sell, and if you look at here, the justification, it's going consistent downward trend, and this insights actually is brought by the GPT-4o external LLM model that we have from our Azure OpenAI service. And it's recommending us to sell it. And looking at the PDF, the general assistant actually created the PDF report, and there you go. Yep, this is the stock, and these insights are actually generated by our financial agent. And with that, thank you. Hope to see you in another video.